Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Welcome to the Green Room. We're happy to have you with us tonight. And right now, to get things started, please welcome our host, Mr. Darrin Ingram.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Green Room, where we pull back the curtain on theater and get to the nitty-gritty of what happens behind that curtain. We have an amazing show for you tonight, but before I get started, let me introduce our co-hosts, Craig Jackman, who should be coming on camera any second.
Oh, you mean I should be turning this on now?
Yeah, I want you on now, baby. I want you on now. I need the trifecta of beautiful bald men, Mr. Michael Rosenblum.
Oh, I guess that's my cue.
That is your cue. You round out the sexiness, my friend.
Well, wait a minute. Well, there's 3 cues here, right?
Well, that's true. Yeah, we got to be playing some snooker later. I think that's what's going on. Ooh, I didn't need that look, but I liked it. That was great. So we have an amazing show for you tonight, Michael. If you would, let's let them know what's happening here.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it from here. I am so excited for our show tonight because we have an extraordinary guest with us. Before we get into introducing her and showing off a little bit of her incredible talent, I have to tell a little fun story about our guest Sarah Ford, who played an instrumental part in me helping him propose to my wife.
Ooh.
So here's a fun little story. Sarah, starring in a little show called Phantom of the Opera as Christine. You know, I'm sure you guys have all heard of it. And my wife Allison and I actually met doing theater in New York, though we were living in California at the time. And I said, you know, when I proposed to her, I got to do this in New York. That's where we met, and it has to be related to the theater somehow because that's where we met. So we knew Sarah was in the show, and so I reached out to her and said, hey, Sarah, do you think you might be able to help us get some pretty good tickets for this performance on this night? Sets us up with some tickets. She's got this whole plan laid out. We meet her after the show. She takes us on a little backstage tour. We meet the Phantom. She shows us all the cool stuff backstage and then takes us out on the stage and very inconspicuously says, oh, hey guys, you're cool to stay here. I'm just going to check with our stage manager and our house manager just to make sure that it's all right, that we're out here. So, you know, I'll be back in just like couple of minutes. You guys are good. Enjoy the stage. You know, the chandelier's out over the orchestra. It's really cool. I'm just gonna walk by and she tripped off. And
she was acting.
It was brilliant. I mean,
brilliant.
She was brilliant from the start of the show through after the show. Everything was brilliant, and allowed me to pop the question in an empty Broadway theater on a Broadway stage, and then we all celebrated afterward with some champagne right across the street. And so pretty cool moment in my life, but
wow.
That's my little fun story. But I am so excited to introduce the extraordinarily talented Sarah Ford. But before we bring her on, we're going to show you guys a little taste of just how good she is. Here's a little snippet coming up from one of her last shows before the theater that's unfortunately shut down.
What happens now?
Just keep your hand in mine.
Your hand feels so grand in mine. Let people say we're in love. Starlight looks well on us. Let the stars beam from above.
That was amazing.
And I think that's as good of an entrance to introduce everybody to the wonderful Sarah Ford.
Starting video, and I'm in.
Hey.
That was great.
Hey,
Now,
Sarah.
on that video, quick question, because in my head, you had to hit that stellar note at the end. You don't get to catch your breath before face-to-face with another person. Like, technique on that one is quick nose breathing before he smothers my face.
Right, yeah, I guess so. My voice teacher taught me to always take an inhale at the end of every exhale.
Nice.
So you're never without a breath.
Nice.
I keep
Otherwise,
that to my kids too. So
otherwise you're dead because he's just
yeah.
taking all the air out of the room.
Literally, huh?
Literally.
Wait, you already jumped in on the teaching, but I want to save that for a little later because we gotta like introduce you a little bit. So, Sarah, I mean, tell us a little bit your story coming from, you're out from Newbury Park in California and now all the way out in New York City. What was that journey like going from, doing high school shows and MPH and then on to Carnegie Mellon and then to Broadway? What was that like?
It was good. Well, first of all, Michael, I just thank you so much for telling that story again. It was so nice to relive that. What a fun thing. I'm so happy that I was a part of your legacy. What a cool thing.
Oh yeah.
I hope to meet your kids one day and be like, hey, how you doing? Anyways, okay.
It was my fault. I was part of that.
Right. I grew up in around Newbury Park. I moved around a lot. And I started singing when I was like 8. My grandparents were singers. They were barbershop singers. I started doing background vocals actually at the age of 10. My mom wanted to put me in like a chorus, just to give me a chance to sing. And so I started to, I joined this random chorus in Sherman Oaks, the Sherman Oaks Community Children's Chorus. And the lady who ran it was like this little old lady, and she was like, I can't guarantee she's gonna get work right away. My mom was like, I don't understand, she just wants to sing. She was like, well, we do background vocals and I take 10%. And my mom's like, okay. And then within like 2 weeks, I was a working professional. My first job was Animaniacs, and we did like Adam's Family Values. We sang with Michael Jackson. It was like a whole thing. So that was like the first 5 years of my career, I guess, ages 10 to 15 or so. I was doing background vocals, which was an odd start. But I knew that I wanted to be an actor. That was really so important to me. And so eventually I had to quit the choir because they wanted me to still sound like a kid. And I started to study, and I studied with a couple teachers out there, one in Ventura and Jody Farrell, and one in Thousand Oaks, Paul Fagundis. And yeah, that they changed my life. And then I just did theater in high school. I didn't get a lead until senior year. Young hopefuls out there, I was just the page boy in Romeo and Juliet.
That's just amazing. I love that so much, because I've had friends say, oh, my daughter didn't get the lead in the show and she's disheartened. She doesn't want to do theater anymore because she didn't get the lead. I went, oh, please. I know friends on Broadway right now who didn't get leads in college, and they're starring on Broadway.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, once I did, Janine Marquis was my teacher at the time, and she saw something in me, and she gave me my chance. And then it was just a chance to, flex and learn. And I went to community college right out of high school. I didn't have a college plan. And so I went to Moore Park, and they have a great theater department. So I was in heaven. I did a bunch of theater there. And then one of my teachers there, Roland Petrello, wonderful man, pulled me aside and was like, what are you doing? He was like, why don't you go to Carnegie Mellon? And I was like, okay. And then I auditioned and I got in, and didn't realize that it was a very competitive school until I got there. And I was like, why is everyone amazing? What's happening? It really paid to be delusional. I think my delusion really helped me to just I just was like, sure, whatever. I just love this. This is great. And then out of college was hard and so wonderful. I loved my training. And out of the 4 years, I did a showcase at the end of the 4 years, and that led to my first job, which was Wicked, and then in Chicago. And I was understudying Glinda and Nessa.
I saw you.
You did?
Uh-huh. I saw, and I said, oh, the understudy's on tonight. And sure enough, it's
you saw me?
I saw you.
No one ever saw me. I only went on 4 times.
Yeah.
Hashtag creepy stalker.
Michael, I love that. Oh, that makes me so happy, because I I feel like it was it didn't even happen. It was so few. And then I moved to New York right after that, and because I was in Chicago, and then I moved to New York, and I played the unemployment game for about 5 months. And I was like, this is what it's like. This is terrible. And then I got a job, and I worked so much in the first 8 years of my career. I'm so lucky. And then I had a baby, and then I worked a little bit again. And then I had a pandemic. Remember that? So.
Oh, that thing that happened a little more than a year ago.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. I was doing a show when it happened. I was doing a show at City Center. It was called Love Life. And it's the only learner and vile collaboration ever to have been made, and it was like a revival. And I was super excited. And then we got the notice that everything was closing, and right before our final run in the rehearsal room. And so we did our run anyways. We just did it just for us. And there were like kids in the show, and they were just in tears. They had put so much into it, and learning tap numbers and all sorts of things. And it was a big cast, and we all just cried, and it was really, really awesome. So
I got to ask, is that waiting for you? I mean, is that show going to pretty much be ready to go after this?
Yeah, Victoria Clark, who is our director, our master and commander, she is, I'm in touch with her always. And I think right now the word is like 2022, 23. I don't know. I know City Center wants to do it. They saved the costumes, they saved the sets, everything's frozen, kind of ready to go. So we'll see. It would be so nice. It's like a fun role, and Brian Stokes Mitchell's in it. Kate Baldwin is in it. Like really fun, fancy people.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a cool piece. Yeah.
Is that the second time you've been with Kate Baldwin then?
Yeah, I love Kate Baldwin. I have a joke about how I only understudied Kate Baldwin. Like, people would be like, "Do you want to come in to understudy blah blah blah?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Blah blah blah," and I'm like, "No." And then they're like, "Kate Baldwin," I'm like, "I'll do that." I don't know why. I just love her so much. She's the best.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you had the good fortune to be working, pretty consistently when you got there. And I know one of your first shows was the Fantastics, yes, which is the revival when they brought it back.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've done the Fantastics, you've done Phantom. I mean, what has it been like being in these? I mean, no other word for it, iconic musicals in musical theater?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's like something I think about often, because I love it to tell my daughter, I'm like, I was in the 2 longest running shows ever. Like it's cool. Fantastics feels like a million years ago, because it kind of was. It was the first show I did in New York. It was my New York debut. And I was a baby. I was just such a child. Look at me. So much. Look at all of that collagen. Like, look at all of that, like, oh, so nice. So supple, the skin. That one was a hard one. I'm going to be real. You want to hear? I'll be real. My director was Tom Jones, who also wrote the piece and was the old man in the original production and in our production. So he wrote it, he was in it, and he directed it. And this was his first time directing it. And he wanted it to be a carbon copy of the old one. He didn't want anything to be different. Down to inflection, my friends, inflection. So
talk about a taskmaster.
Yeah, and so I had a hard time, and I didn't feel like it was my role at all. So even when we did the cast recording, which was like the day after we opened, like opening night, I mean, he was in the room with me telling me how to say things.
Oh my goodness!
Wow. So like we recorded the whole monologue for the cast recording, which they didn't do on the first one. And I listened to it now and I'm like, who's that person? Like, it just didn't, it was him. And it wasn't until like 3 months into the run when he was like, I never should have directed this. And I was like, thank you. And then I kind of felt like it was mine, and I took over, and I really kind of got to find her on my own. And actually recently, the other job that I was just about to do after Love Life was Harold and Maude, the musical, which they've been tooling around with for years, and Tom Jones wrote it. And I've done a reading of it, and Vicki Clark directs it. Because I only work with Vicki Clark apparently, and which is a cool thing. And he loves me in that, and like, it's funny because I don't think he liked me in Fantastics. Like towards the end, I think we were kind of like did this, but we have a great time in Harold and Maude. So who knows?
Did that Fantastics experience actually kind of get discouraging about
Yeah,
how
I got
things
terrible
work?
reviews. I got slammed in the New York Times. I don't know about slammed, but to me it felt like slammed. That, you know, they said something about like how I wasn't like a typical ingenue and was a little too old for an ingenue. I was like, well, you tell me how to play a 16-year-old. But to be fair, it wasn't my telling of the role. So
Right.
I guess it was a little discouraging. I was looking for a way out by the end. I was definitely tired. And so Phantom was the way out, actually. That was why I left to go do Phantom.
It's a nice way out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was nice. Yeah, and it was just to understudy, and I was in the ensemble. It was just like a fill-in, and then it was like going to end on the road, just like a little like blip on the road in the ensemble. And then when I was on the road, they offered me the role on the road. So I got to do it on the road for a bit, and then I left. And I did another show, Little House on the Prairie, the musical. Big hit. And then I went back into Phantom eventually. I think I saw somebody in a building, like the associate music director, and I was like, I'd love to come back into the show. And he was like, really? Oh, okay. And then I got a call, and they were like, come in to audition again. And I was like, okay. And I did, and then I did it for about 17 months or so.
Isn't it interesting how that was the catalyst, right? That you saw the person, you ran into them, and that happens all the time. I mean, that happens all the time. And that's, you know, Michael and Craig and I always talk about, be kind to every person that you ever work with.
Oh my God,
you know,
yeah.
Network.
Stay professional, be respected, right? And the fact that you were respected enough that that person said, yeah, great, come on out.
Yeah.
As opposed to be going, oh, that's nice that you want to come back in. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. It's true. I used to always say to my mom, like, I wish I could just like make a living off of being like a fun, nice person. And then I didn't realize that I was going to eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that comment that she's not the typical ingenue. It's misguided, of course, with how they were phrasing it. But I would actually say you're not a typical ingenue because you bring so much more when I've seen you perform than what I would consider a typical ingenue, the doe-eyed, looking off into the horizon, singing pretty. I mean, yes, you sing very pretty, but you're funny. You've got guts on stage. I mean, your Christine was effortless, which is amazing.
Thank you.
But there was like humor infused into it. There was these like this like chutzpah in the character, which you don't usually see, and I find you to be so much more than just a typical ingenue. But I take that you would like to be seen more than just a typical ingenue. You are funny. You are, you know, brazen on stage. It's great.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. That's so nice. Yeah, it's always been a sort of a struggle of mine, like that I don't necessarily, I had to sort of play the role of the girl who was the ingenue rather than like just being an ingenue. And I think it makes me different, but it also makes people not know quite where to put me sometimes. And you know, and then right after Phantom, I left and I did How to Succeed, and I played Smitty in How to Succeed, and it was like,
I would have loved to have seen that.
It was so fun, and it was like a complete contrast to what I've just been doing. And yeah, I mean, and I think as I get older, you know, I'll start to grow into some other type of role. Maybe it's not written yet, to be honest, but you know, a role for a woman in her 40s who's, you know,
did you find that as an issue of them trying to pigeonhole you into something, which it seems like maybe they couldn't or didn't?
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't and they didn't. And I worked, so I still was like, you know, I was still doing something right, but it's interesting. It's just like against some of my contemporaries, the lovely women that I audition alongside and have for the past 15 years, you know, we all kind of like, as you get older, you kind of just go in different directions. Cause like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And you know, but I still sing the way I sing and look the way I look. So, you know, you can't, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's weird. It's something I didn't think about as a kid when I was like thinking about all this, you know, because I'd be like swinging my pearls in front of the mirror, singing Miss Hannigan as like a 10-year-old. And like, that was fun for me. And I thought, oh, I'll play this role. And I just didn't, you know, I didn't think that I have to wait 50 years to do it.
Allison always talks about seeing you in Into the Woods as the baker's wife, and I would love to see you play that part.
Oh my gosh, that was the first lead role in high school. It was so fun, so fun.
Senior year role.
Yeah, in high school.
Was that the first time that you actually went on stage?
No, I had been on stage before. That was just like the first leading role. Yeah, I guess that was. Yeah, I think before that, did I do chess? I think I did chess at Young Artists Ensemble at the big like Forum Theater at Civic Arts Plaza. That was my first like big show, and that was like I was reporter number 2, and I loved my life. It was so fun.
I did a string for a while where I was in the chorus a lot, doing regional theater, and as we had a bunch of people that showed up to almost every audition, and at one point we made T-shirts, and I was the third guy from the left, and there was a second guy from the left, and we had our own little thing, I knew my place. I'm young dancer singer guy. I knew what to do.
So one of the things we talk about a lot in this show, well, a lot of the show, it's our second episode, but well, we want to be talking about a lot of shows, all these really fun, like backstage stories, kind of crazy things that happen before we go on stage, while we're on stage, after the show, all that kind of stuff, or rehearsals. So I kind of want to open it up to here to tell us any of these like great, wild, stories that go on backstage, some of the fun things that happen, crazy things that happen.
That you can share that won't get you in trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
We want you to go back to the theater.
Right.
If your phone starts ringing, it's your agent. Just be like, oh, okay, we'll pull that story back.
Whoops. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like a lot of good. A story that I have not told often, which I just think is so funny, is is when I was on the road with Phantom of the Opera. I think we were in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada, and somebody leaned against the fire curtain button. So this fire curtain came down in the middle of the second act in the second manager scene. So there's like 7 people on stage. There's a lot of people, everyone's singing at once. It's very intense moment. They're trying to convince Christine to do, everyone's singing. It's one of those like the cacophony, whatever. It's the song that like a lot of the kids don't really, they skip over when they're listening to the soundtrack. But anyways, somehow or another, Piangi, the guy playing Piangi, was downstage just enough that he was on the other side of the fire curtain. And we just kind of kept going until the fire curtain was down. But we stopped and he just kept going and was by himself like, mommy, mommy, in front of the fire curtain. And we were like, he's still going. We were just like, it was so funny. It was so funny. And then it went back up and we sort of had to reset. I think somebody did like a one of these, what are these called?
Song and dance type of.
Yeah, that. And then I don't know, it was just silly and stupid. And then another time in Phantom, we had an earthquake on stage, and I, being a professional, just said to the guy playing Raoul, what do we do? Like loud, like on mic. What was I? And he just kept singing. He didn't even bat an eye. And I was like, oh, right, that's what I'm supposed to do. But I was like, the crowd was like mumble, 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 earthquake, earthquake, earthquake. And it was like one of those moments. So those are some funny on stage moments. Backstage moments. I'm trying to think of like Cats, we were all just like dying backstage. I don't know, like we would just come off stage and just die because we were so tired and our bodies were broken.
I would imagine with Cats, with all the makeup, you don't really get a chance to release any of the heat that you normally would through your hair or through anything.
It's so weird and different, and it's the weirdest show I've ever done. One of the hardest things I've ever done. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of the answer. Oh, I have a good one. Okay. When I was in How to Succeed, the man playing, what's the main boss? What's the main guy's role? Pierpont Finch's boss.
Yes, I'm gonna come. Oh my God.
I can't think of his
I
name.
did this show. Oh my God.
Yeah, me too.
Never.
That's how it works. We'll come to it.
Mhm.
It was Beau Bridges. Beau Bridges was playing this role. So and I'm like, okay, Beau Bridges, like
Mr. Bigley.
Mr. Bigley, that's it. So Beau Bridges is like probably in his 70s. You know, he's Jeff Bridges' older brother. He's wonderful. He's got a great part in, what is that? The Descendants? Is that what the movie was? Anyways.
Yes.
So, great guy. And I used to hide backstage and pop out at him because we would come on for this like entrance together, and the doors would open and we would come out and everybody else would enter from the side. So it was just us that came out. And so I would hide and scare him. It was like fun. It was like he was like my grandpa kind of thing. And one day I hid really well. And I think I came so early that I think he thought I was late, and I waited until the last second to pop out at him. And I think I nearly gave him a heart attack. Like, it was scary. It was like mean of me, because then the doors opened and he was like catching his breath. He was pale. It was a thing. I was like, I almost just killed Beau Bridges. Like, it's very certain that I could have killed him. So there's one.
Was his comment after that? Or did he say anything?
That was the last time I saw him. No,
Last thing I heard was clear.
Yeah, right. Oh boy.
We used to have a thing. If you've ever done a Vita, you know that there's a part where again, third guy from the left. So I'm in the crowd doing Evita Pero, right, doing that. We used to have a thing where we tell really nasty, awful jokes on stage to each other in that crowd because we're supposed to be solemn.
Oh yeah.
And
that's
so
mean.
Oh yeah, and they were raunchy. They were awful. I mean, things that you go, I'm not even laughing. I'm just trying not to throw up. That's terrible.
Right.
And yeah, on stage, because none of us were mic'd, so of course it's okay.
The last backstage on stage story that I have, and we're probably going to go over time, but
there is no time.
Okay, good.
We're good.
Is my last day. One of my last shows at Phantom. Hugh Panaro, who played my Phantom, and I were very close, and he was leaving for a bit, and Norm Lewis, who is the first African-American Phantom on Broadway, was coming in to replace him for a bit. And and so, or maybe, I don't know. Anyways, I'm not going to do that person, be that person. But so this would happen. Hugh and Norm are best friends. They've known each other for a long time. They did Sideshow together on Broadway years ago. And so Hugh knew that Norm was going to take his dressing room for the day while we did pictures all day. And so Hugh took all these pictures of Norm, teeny tiny little pictures of like that he found, and placed them on his head in pictures all over his dressing room so that like Norm would feel comfortable. And it was just like Norm on like Hugh's body, like everywhere. So there's just like Norm faces all over his dressing room. And then one of the, like, Norm has his photo thing, blah, blah, blah. Then like a couple of days later, Hugh took one of the Norm faces and put it in his makeup. Like he has like this like dark hole cut out in the prosthetic like thing. And there was a dark hole and it's black. And he put Norm's black face in the hole. And then at the very end of the show, I'm like, you know, you angel, you whatever, I'm singing angel. And I'm like, ugh. And he says, you try my patience. And he comes like this, like he's going to hit me. And then he goes, huh? Points to it. It's because I didn't see it. And there's like a little Norm face staring at me. And I was so upset with him, but so proud of him. It was a wonderful mic. He was like terrified of me afterwards. He was like, do you hate me? And I mean, I do kind of, but only because it was so good.
So was that, I'm going to ask, because I think we all have had tricks played to us on stage
Yeah.
at some point. Was that the worst, or did you have something else that may have happened to you?
Tricks being played with me on stage.
Or like you're getting on stage and they do something backstage to just throw you?
Well, I mean, there's always somebody in the wings, like making faces and looking at you. And as Christine, like I just always broke. Like everyone knew it was like I was always gonna break. I think because I just had to be so solemn all the time that I was just over it and I wanted to be joyful. And so it was just like, I don't know, it was very hard to stay. But yeah, I think that was probably the worst of them, for sure.
And,
How do you
and
prepare
kids,
for
kids,
something?
if you're
Go ahead.
watching, don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
do it.
No, please don't.
Very unprofessional.
Don't do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for something like, I mean, such an iconic role? You're talking about Christine. I mean, to me, that's one of my favorite musicals.
Yeah. Doing Wicked actually was like a really great thing for me because being an understudy, I had to play. You have to kind of play a game with these people. You're not working with the original director always. You're usually working with an associate, and they're just trying to do things by the book, And so I fought a lot with my it was my stage manager that put me into Wicked, and I fought a lot with him. We just didn't get along, to be honest, and he ended up getting fired after I left, which was really interesting. Juicy. But he and I were like constantly like this because I'd be like, why do I have to do that? Like, he's like, well, because that's what she does every night. And I'm like, but it's not even in the script. And he's like, well, that's what Kate's doing. And I'm like, well, that's not going to be funny on me. Like, why would I'm not going to do, that's not funny. And it's funny on her. It's not funny on me. And it was like a constant. And I think that's why he only put me on 4 times, because it was like somehow or another in his, and there was another girl that went on tons more. And so after that, I was like, oh, I have to play the game. Like, I gotta be good. So, when I went into Phantom, I just like working with the associate, who's a lovely, lovely human. But I just like was like, I let him talk. I just let him say everything he thought that the role should be. And I was just like, yes, yes, yes. And then if I ever had an idea of my own, I would kind of make it sound like it was his. And I was able to sort of get away with making her the Christine I wanted her to be, which was sort of a strong-willed, woman finding a girl growing into the woman that she is, and having like, the guts and the balls to say, you can't do this, bud. You can't go killing people. And so, and then with her, like she's like very empathetic. I think like that's something that like I was able to be like, oh, I'm empathetic. She's okay. I have something in common with her because I didn't have much. And then I, like weird thing, but like pulling on my like Greek tragedy training in Carnegie Mellon, like all the heightened language pieces that we were worked on, and the commitment to stakes that we had to really master. And at the time I was like, why am I doing this? Like, I am so not this person. But then I'm like playing Christine, and I'm like, oh, this is how you make it believable. Like, you just have to go there, and it's the only way. And if I don't believe it, no one else will believe it. So I have to like go there, and so that helped.
You touched on something that I think a lot of young actors struggle with, which is the business side of the art of making show, and it's very challenging. There's no other way to put it, and nobody comes into it trained to do it.
No,
you all learn hard knocks, right? There is no, hey guys, this is the part that sucks about show business, so let's learn that. Even theater schools don't teach you that real hardcore part of it.
No.
How was that transition for you? Because that to me is like the hardest thing that I went through as a young performer too.
Yeah, I'm still figuring it out. Because I'm also I came into the business before Instagram and Twitter and Facebook had just started when I graduated college. And so that has really changed the game big time. And it's not something that I necessarily like knew how to tackle, because I consider myself like a pretty real, down to earth, authentic person. And I just like, it was very shocking to see like, oh, like a lot of people aren't. And it was like, you know, and so I just, you know, it's a constant dance to figure out just how much to like put myself out there and feel like I'm still being authentic and being real and being honest and true to who I am, and also like, you know, be the networker that I have to be. And it's a constant struggle. I talk about it with my boyfriend all the time. He's in film, but you know, it's a thing. And I think it does definitely separate, like, because there's so many people that are so good at this that quit. Yeah. And I think that's why, because it's just like, you don't sign up for that part of it, you know? So,
especially if you love what you do.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I surround myself with people who do love what they do and get into it for that reason. And I have like a lot of wonderful friends who are also my role models, like Vicky Clark, who's just like a totally real human, and Sutton Foster, who's like just like so sweet and lovely and kind, and you just
hit one of my favorites of all time.
Right. So. And she's a real person, and she just, you know, she got a great break, and I'm so glad she did, you know, and like but it's people like that I'm like, yeah, like you're doing something right, and I'm just gonna, you know, watch you and learn.
I remember, I think during when you were celebrating with us after the engagement, I think you gave Sutton a call and we're like, hey, you should come. That she didn't pick out, she was in a show that night or something. And then just couldn't make it out, you know. Oh. She's busy on Broadway, you know.
She's a very busy human. I think I see her once a year. She's one of my once a year friends, which are, you know, so good friends.
Before we jump into some other topics, I wanted to ask, and you can tell me if you don't want to talk about this, but I saw you post on Facebook. It was a backstage thing. It was a character I think you had created. And the video left me in stitches. It was just one of those, like, this is the kind of thing we do backstage. We come up with these ridiculous things that, and I won't say anything else. I'll let you talk about it if you're okay with that.
Oh, sure. I mean, basically when I went into Phantom, they gave me this one wig and I was like, what is this wig? Like, who is she? And every time I would put it on, I would like style it differently. And I'd be like, what is she today? So I was just always like playing around with her. And then 6 years ago, I went through a very hard personal time. I was going through a divorce, and I reached out to Phantom and I was like, I need a job. And they were like, we have an opening in the ensemble in your original ensemble track that you made your Broadway debut in. Would you want to do that and just understudy Christine for 9 months? And I was like, yes. And I came back in and everyone was like, are you going to be weird, like being back in the ensemble? And I was like, no, I don't care. I have a job. I'm not gunning it to be the lead anymore. I don't care. I get to support everyone and run around the theater like a maniac. And I had the best time I've ever had in that show, ever. And then I revisited this like stupid wig character and I named her Barb, and she brought me so much joy in a time that was very difficult. And I just would laugh. I would watch videos of myself and just laugh and think I was so funny. And that's it. And then recently I just posted, she comes into the hair room and sings a song about being back on Broadway. And I was like, oh my God, it's me when we were back on Broadway. That's it.
I mean, you were funny. As somebody who watched it, it was very funny. I have to know, were the other actors in on the bit at that moment? Because they're giving you that look of like, that dead serious. Like, I'm like, I have to assume they were like doing that as part of the
they were always like entertaining me. They were always letting me just run around and be an idiot, basically.
They were either in on the bit or they really didn't like you.
Well, either of those. Guess what? I didn't care what they thought. I was still gonna do it. That's the thing.
Well, and audience members don't understand that there's a lot of downtime
Yeah.
in doing shows. There's a lot of sort of sit around and wait before the fervor of the actual performance. So
Yeah.
keeping everybody up and keeping people light and bringing joy in the middle of all of that downtime is super huge when
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. It's important.
Yep.
How do you handle that before time? I don't do well in that before time. When I'm already mic checked, costumed, and then we've got like 20 minutes before we go on, I'm just like bouncing around backstage. I'm like, let's go, let's do this. I am ready.
That's a fun feeling. I can't wait to feel that feeling again.
Mhm.
I think, I mean, women have it differently, guys. We got to come early. We got to come an hour early, get our hair done, our makeup did. It's a whole thing. Finally, the boys were like, understood our lives when I was in Cats. They were like,
Yeah.
wait, what? You come how early? Huh? And yeah, so like, that's it. And then we had to add like a warm up with Cats because you have to also warm up. Because I was
You
a
do?
dancer, apparently.
You have to warm up with that
Warm
show?
up your body.
That's so weird. That is so weird.
And purr and clean yourself. And
Yeah, that's how I warmed up.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Then the makeup came off. You're like, oh, crap.
I know. Yeah, right.
nuts. So Craig actually has a video queued up. I mean, we've been talking for a while here, but I'd love for the people to hear a little bit more of your wonderful talent. We have, I think is it Joshua that we have queued up here?
Oh yeah, this was a 54 Below Sings Dolly Parton night. So yeah, it was fun. It was super fun.
Cool. Something a little different here.
Yeah.
Take it away, Craig.
Unmuted.
Well, ways down the railroad track, there was this little old rundown shack, and in it lived a man I'd never seen. Folks said he was a mean and a vicious man, and you better not step foot on his land. But I didn't think nobody could be that mean. So it took me out walking down the railroad track, asking to go down to that little old shack, just to find out if all them things I'd heard was true. There was a big black dog standing out in the yard, and growled at me, and I swallowed hard. I heard somebody say, well, who are you? Oh, and there he stood in the door of that shack. His beard, his hair was long and black, and he was the biggest man I'd ever seen. When he spoke, his voice was low and mean, but I didn't think he would crack me, so I didn't think nobody could be that mean. He said, what you doing sitting around my place? And I saw a smile crawl across his face, so I smiled back and I told him who I was. He said, come on in, you pull you up a chair, you might as well since you're already here. And he said, you can call me Joshua. Joshua, what you doing out here all alone? Joshua, ain't you got nobody to call your own? No, no, no. We left till the sun was clean outside, and we still talking when it come daylight. And there is just so much we had to say. Hey, I spent all my life in an orphan's home, and just like him, I was all alone. And I said, yeah, but he asked me if I'd stay. Oh, we grew closer as time went on, and that little shack was a happy home, and we just couldn't help but fall in love. That big black dog in that little old shack down on there by the railroad track was plenty enough for me and Joshua. Hey, Joshua, you're just what I've been looking for. Joshua, ain't no lonesome anymore. No.
Oh,
That was awesome.
My favorite part of that was actually watching you watch you just now.
oh,
Oh.
I was really just like, did you watch me like just cringing when I'm like reading lyrics very
Uh-huh.
fast?
It was a great catch, though. Good job grabbing
Nice catch.
the lyrics.
Yeah,
Lovely
those were-
catch.
That was a patter song.
That was so much like Christine Daae. I mean, it was almost the same. Yeah, really, 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 really close together. No, that was really good.
But you did the same thing there. You like find those little humorous moments, you know, and bring those out. That's something you do so well. It's really fun to watch.
Thank you.
Also,
Looked like you were having fun. I felt like you were a female Johnny Cash because it sounded to me like A Boy Named Sue.
Oh yeah,
song.
right. That's a good
Yeah.
song.
If you think about how the beats and everything like that matches it.
Yeah, maybe that's my next song. I have to go for the same as Johnny Cash.
nice.
Hey.
And if you have the same camera angle, I don't know if you noticed, but the sign actually gave you devil's horns, which was amazing.
Perfect. Right.
Do you have those? Do you have those notes? Those Johnny Cash notes? Too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm very
Okay.
versatile.
Cool. Great. Just making sure. So it's great. Cool.
Do you actually, because I do, when you watch yourself perform, is there like constant sort of, oh, I wish I could have, I don't know if that was, is because I do it to me all the time.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I'm constantly like, flat. But and then sometimes I'm enjoying myself. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I remember having a really good time doing that. That was really fun, so that helps.
What do you, if you got young performers that you're trying to help, how do you get them from becoming too over analytical or too in their head and not allowing them? Because when you see you perform it, you're clearly having fun, or at least giving us the impression that you're having fun. So, and if you're too far in your head, audiences can feel that.
Yeah.
How do you teach those kids to not get so over analytical?
I think Paul Fagundis, who was my voice teacher, I would also call him an acting teacher, because the way he ran his lessons was, he's such a technical teacher, but he also really dissected words. I mean, we just dove into lyrics like crazy people, and he really taught me a lot about vocal phrasing and all that. And he really helped me fall in love with words. And I wasn't like some kid. I did read a lot for sure. I was a big reader, but I wasn't like I wasn't like reading poetry and things, but I definitely loved lyrics. And now I just love, obviously, just text in general. And so I think falling in love with words and getting into and really exploring all the different routes. And so once you're just thinking about that, you're not thinking about anything. You can't think about anything else. Right. And another thing I just talked to them about, my students about, is we can't control our feelings, we can't if someone's like, oh, you're sad, oh, that sucks, be happy, you can't. You're like, okay. But what you can do, and this is very Buddhist, but is you can control your thoughts. You can look at what you're thinking about, and your feelings come from there. That is the byproduct of the thought. And so as actors, I just we got to invest in thought, and and that's it. We can't think of anything else. Yeah.
Have you been? Oh, sorry, Darrin. Go ahead.
I was just going to tag on that. This is the industry of rejection. So if you lead with your feelings too hard, it can destroy you very quickly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Have you kept teaching throughout the pandemic? Have you managed to, yeah.
Thank God for my students and my private voice studio, I would call it. And it's a virtual studio. But I set that up. About 7 years ago, I really put a lot. Well, yeah, 8 years ago. My child is 7 now, so I've really put a lot of effort into starting to teach privately, and I've taught at a couple schools at times, but my private voice stuff and acting has been the best. And so I didn't really feel too big of a shift when the pandemic hit and everything closed down. If anything, there was sort of a lull, and then everything kind of came back again. And I felt like I could be right on top of it, which was really nice because it gave me something to do, and it gave me some income. And and also I love my students. So I love teaching, and so
How does one get to study with you?
you pay me. I don't know.
Aside from the payment thing.
You can email me, or you can check out a link. I guess I could send you guys a link. I don't know how do I do that. You can just check me out on Facebook, I guess, Sarah Jean Ford Voice Studio. Yes. And then yeah, you can also find me on Instagram, and I think all my teaching stuff is there as well. But I have like a teaching portal now, which is like, I should probably memorize that, to be honest. It's new, so yeah, there it is.
So this is blown by. We're like 50 minutes in already. We could probably talk for hours and hours here, but I know we don't have all the time in the world. So there's a few other things I know we wanted to chat with you about. Particularly we brought up a bunch of times, like how you're holding up, keeping sharp, keeping that instrument warm while we're in the pandemic, and then after that, you brought your daughter up. I wanted to hear what it's like being a parent while being on Broadway. I mean, shows go up when it's bedtime for the kiddos sometimes. So yeah, yeah, twofold question. What's it been like?
Yeah, let's see. Keeping busy. I think right after the everything hit and everything stopped, I was like, well, now's as good a time as any to get my next edit of Calamity Jane out. So I've been working on a Calamity Jane adaptation, which is an old 1952 musical, Doris Day. And so I've been working on that, and I did this big sold out 2 shows at 54 Below. I guess it was like 3 years ago now. And so I did another edit of that, and then I did like a reading of it. I hosted and produced and directed a reading, and had some of my fanciest friends there to do it, and that was great. And me and my boyfriend collaborated, and he helped me on that edit, and it was really fun. So I did that, and sort of showed it to potential director, choreographer. So that was cool. And then yeah, I have been writing nonstop. I'm also a writer, and I'm a creator, and working on like a bigger piece that I can't really like talk about yet, but it's awesome, and I'm so excited about it. And yeah, that is like, it's like on the cusp of like, where is it going next? Like it has to get produced now, and doing obviously live theater is not a thing yet, so it's probably going to be filmed, and that's like a whole other world that I know nothing about. So luckily my boyfriend's going to direct it, and he's writing it with me, and we're going crazy. And then we're working on another thing. I mean, we're just working on so much stuff. So it's like almost like I've been quiet. I've just sort of been like sitting back and just like waiting for things to happen. And I take voice lessons while this is all happening. I'm about to start an on-camera class in a couple weeks, and just keeping sharp and waiting.
Well, you're doing something that we talk about all the time here, which is this is a time for us to stretch a bit on some of the things that we've been either procrastinating or been too busy to do. Yeah. Those labors of love that we hope we have the time to do, that we never really carve out the time, and now we have it, and sounds like you're killing it. So
yeah, thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's hard to do it though, and because I also, to then a good segue in is I'm
nicely done.
Parent, yeah, I've been my daughter is 7, and she's awesome. I love her, and I'm a single parent who co-parent. So I guess I'm like I'm a single parent, but I co-parent with my ex-husband. So right now I do not have her, which is why you don't hear things, because she would hear things, and she would come in and be like, I don't know what she would say, but so yeah, and now I am we live with my boyfriend, and so like personally lots of things have happened during the pandemic for me, which has been really great. So I don't really so much feel like a single parent anymore, but now we're trying to figure out like, okay, like how are we doing this? Like we're parenting together, and we're still trying to write things together, and just getting work done around her, and remote school, and it's been bonkers. But when I'm on Broadway, it actually almost feels easier just because, and I was very single when I was on Broadway last, and I was doing Cats, and I had a 2-year-old, which is absolutely hilarious when I look back on it. I didn't really think about it at the time, and I had a friend reach out recently when she was doing Kiss Me Kate, and she was like, can we just talk about how you had a 2-year-old and you were a single mom and we were doing Cats, like the hardest show ever. And like, he was like, she said, I'm watching moms in my show like have nervous breakdowns right now opening this show, and I just keep thinking about you. And I was like, thank you. Again, delusion, it really helps. But I don't know how I did. I had a good babysitter. I have a lot of great friends that help out, and that's it. So yeah, I don't know. I bring her to auditions. Sometimes it serves me, sometimes it doesn't. It's a constant, it's not all rainbows and lollipops. I'll tell you that. It's very difficult. But I'm not gonna not do what I do.
Yeah.
Know?
Do you find that people are a little bit more, I'd say more, not totally, but more understanding of being a parent in the business?
Parents are understanding of parents.
Okay, fair. Yeah.
People who don't have kids are not understanding. They just, unless they have an immense amount of empathy. But no, for the most part, like once I became a parent, like I felt a shift, and and I could have also just been me being like, I'm different now, you know. It's very possible. I'm a woman, and we feel those babies so differently. So, you know, and we feel the motherhood thing too, like the stigma of motherhood and like what that does and who that makes you. And yeah, there's a whole thing. But there's a really great community called Broadway Baby Mamas.
Cool.
Of like pretty much every mom in the business is a part of this community, and we have an ongoing, it's a Facebook page, but it's an ongoing chat. They also have a podcast called Mama's Talking Loud, and it's like they interview everyone, you know.
Wow.
Like something, it's crazy. And that community is everything. So nice to have them.
Has your daughter shown any, I know she's 7, any affinity yet for it, and any, you know, desire to, or is it just like, I want to do what mama does?
No, she never says she wants to do it. I mean, I think one time she was like, I might want to be an actor. I don't know. But she's just like really, you know, she sings all the time, never stops singing, constantly singing. And she's always playing characters. She has a new character every day. She's like, okay, today my character's name is Kelly, and she's from Ireland, and she just came here. She just moved here. And like, you know, she has like a whole backstory, and this is who she is, and this is who her parents are. You know, but I don't think she sees it yet as like something that she can do, which is strange because both her mom and dad do it, and dad's girlfriend and mom's boyfriend is a film director and a writer. Like, you know, so she's so surrounded by art, and you know, and what a lucky kid. She got to, you know, I would take her backstage and Cats, and she would, I mean, that stage was a jungle gym. There were tunnels and like things to slide off of and like things to climb. And she was just like, wait, what? Like, this is where you work? But, you know, she also was just like, cool, mom, thanks, you know.
She sounds natural. I mean, just the way that you've described, like she would just be able to very easily slide right in.
She would. I would never obviously push it on her. I don't, you know, I would wait for her to come to me with any of that. And right now she's talking about being a scientist, and I am A-okay with that. She can do that if she wants to. So I am like, yes, science is awesome. Let's go.
My son's doing the same thing. I'm like, that's awesome. You can enjoy musicals. Science is great, man.
I know. Yeah.
You can afford tickets, you know.
Yeah.
It now being a parent and having a child, you know, who could technically do this, you know, it makes me think of my mom and how, you know, how hard that must have been to like be like, you know, okay, my child like really, no, oh, she like really wants this. Like, how much money are we spending on this? How much time are we you know, really? And then if you think about it, at the age of 10, she took a half day every Wednesday to drive me down to Sherman Oaks to do that chorus. And then suddenly I was booking work. So she was like taking me on these gigs. I mean, she really went with it. And thank God she did. She must have just seen that I was like swinging my pearls as Miss Hannigan in the corner.
Isn't it weird though that in retrospect, we see all of that work. We see all of that time that they did spend. That, you know, when I was a teenager, I was like, oh, leave me alone. I just want to do something else, you know. But now looking back, you go, wow.
I know. Yeah. When I look back, I'm like, Mom, you were amazing. Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And because I would be like, I don't know, should I do this with Annie? I don't know. This is a lot, you know. I would think about it forever. So yeah.
And you keep bringing up that you were playing Miss Hannigan in the mirror, and your daughter's name Annie. Is there any sort of connection there?
Annie is named after Anne of Green Gables, who is my favorite, you know, literary heroine, and she's so much like Anne of Green Gables. It's frightening. She's so dramatic and over the top. No, yeah, she's not Annie. It's just what we call her. Yeah,
that's great. Well, I know we're kind of getting close to the end here, which is awful because I would love to like keep this going forever and a day. Do we still have time, Darrin and Craig, for some of our fun little rapid fire?
We could do a rapid fire, maybe like,
her.
you know, one or two questions each, but I do have some, Paul Carganillo was here in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he definitely wanted to say he has to drive. Please tell Sarah I love and miss her, and I'm still holding out hope
I know,
she'll someday join us for Polly's online variety show.
I know.
Hint,
I really gotta do it. I really gotta do it.
We pre-tape. We do pre-tape.
Yes, we do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I could do that. Yeah.
So the offer is out there, Sarah, and I mean, just those two videos that we had. I mean, wow. And we have an amazing group of people every Saturday night.
And I'm in it too.
And yeah, even Darrin's in it.
Gotta have somebody there to make everybody else look really, really good.
I balance it. I make everybody look good. It's great.
Amazing. Yeah, I definitely have to. I've been like, he asked me and I was like, absolutely. And then like, of course, time got away from me and I'm like, wait, what? You know, so yeah, I have to. Paul, reach out again. I'm doing it.
I'm sure he's going to take note of that then. Good. Because we'd love to have you. I mean, you know, both, at least from my perspective, because I've known Paul since the beginning of these shows. And having Darrin come in has been amazing, and some of the other people from High Street, as well as Michael also being part of our little group here. You know, it's growing and growing, and we love to, you know, hear from talented people all the time.
Wow.
It's crazy. The audience continues to grow, which is what you hope for, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, the audience continues to expand and expand, which is both extraordinary and unnerving on nights that you don't have material that you like maybe next week's country music night.
Right.
Oh, and before we finish, I've got a special picture to share with you.
Oh dear.
That's from a mutual friend of yours who knew he was on the show.
Yay!
There it is.
Scott Gilbert.
Scott Gilbert on the top there.
On the top. Yep.
Me, Valerie. It's great. Me, I have bright red hair. Short red hair.
So, yes, Scott is here in the chat and he's saying hello.
Hi,
and
Scott.
so we had to share that as well.
Love it.
Nice. All right, let's hit her up with some rapid fire. All right, you
Okay,
ready?
Who's first?
I'll go first because I'm ready with my question. You're in New York City.
Yes.
All right. First question: best pizza place.
Ooh, I just discovered it. Not Ray's. It's called Not Ray's.
It's actually called Not Ray's.
That's phenomenal.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
It's in Brooklyn here, and
okay.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Follow up: best bagel place.
Best bagel place. I guess I don't. I'm like, this is like lame. I'm just like a deli. Like I don't know. I haven't had a bagel in so long. And I love bagels. Well, what's the like bagel place? Murray's.
Well, I went to H&H.
Murray's is good, and H&H.
Yeah, I've been to H&H too. I guess that is a pretty good bagel. Yeah, I guess that. We'll go with that.
We're
H&H.
helping the out-of-towners here is what we're doing. We're helping the out-of-towners.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
When you go to New York, you go to Not Ray's, and then you get Murray's. As a native New Yorker myself.
Yeah, you see Murray's.
Do not go to Familia's.
Nope.
Do not go to Sabaro's.
Nope.
You go to the pizzeria on the corner. Doesn't matter what the name is. It's going to be good.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Pay
The
it
least reputable one, that's probably the best one.
Yes.
The more grease on the sign, the better.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they're slightly belligerent, then you
Yes.
know you're in the right place.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, Craig, go for it.
All right. What was the last karaoke song that you sang?
Mm.
Oh, I have a hard time with karaoke. I get very nervous. I get
Isn't that weird?
extremely nervous.
Isn't that
Very.
weird?
Yeah, I think it's because like the minute I open my mouth, I like people know that I'm a singer, and then they really start listening like they haven't listened to other people, and it makes me like, just drink your drink and crack your peanuts, kids. Like, I don't want to be listened to. I'm having a good
I
time.
just wanted to sing Gloria Gaynor. Let me sing.
Yeah. I like the only one I can think of right now is like, I always like to sing I just can't stop loving you. You know that song?
Mhm.
And if I stop, then tell me just what will I do? It's Michael Jackson.
Yes.
That's a good karaoke
Cool.
song. Get people singing.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay, Michael.
All right. Dream role that you haven't gotten to play yet.
Oh, my stock answer is always it hasn't been written yet. But I guess if you want like a role, I wouldn't mind playing Eliza Doolittle.
Ah,
Yes.
I like it.
yeah.
Hopefully I won't age out. Maybe somewhere in the middle of the country I can play it.
Well, Sarah, thank you so very, very much for coming to our little show and gracing us with your amazing talent and wonderful person. We really do appreciate it and appreciate everything that you have shown us, done for us, and talked about. I know Michael appreciates his wife, so there's that.
Thank you for that.
That could have gone very wrong, hence the no audience. I got the underscoring of that, not to have an audience there just in case.
She offered to have the Phantom bring us up after curtain call.
Oh,
I did.
oh.
I was
Oh, wow.
She sent me an email. I was like, no. Not that I didn't think she would say yes. I was just like, no, private.
Right. It was a good call. But I was like, I don't know. Maybe you want to do this. Who knows?
He was going to sing Music of the Night on the big high A. That's when I was going to drop to my knee.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. That was what it was going to be. We were going to choreograph it. It was, brilliant.
I think you went with a better option.
I think so too.
Yeah, I feel good about your option.
Mhm.
But thank you very, very much. And for those that are watching, this will be lame later, but there is a 9:30 rebroadcast of this Pacific time. If you're watching the 9:30 rebroadcast, there will not be another rebroadcast of this. There you have it.
There you have it.
Craig, if you would, take us out.
Well, first of all, let's go ahead and promo the shows that we've got coming up this week because, right now we're going to show you, obviously, tonight at 9:30. If it hasn't come up yet, if those of you watching our early broadcast here, thank you so much for joining us. Then tomorrow night, Saturday night, it's Sarah Bareilles night on Polly's Online Variety Show starting at 6 p.m. So please join us at the VaudacityNetwork.com. Then the following week, I'm jumping around a little bit because I want to keep in the theme of Polly's Online Variety Show. Country Music Night. Everybody's requested this one. So we are going to do it. That'll be Saturday, April 17th. Please join us. All you country music fans, get on your shit kickers and your hats and join us that night. And then Sunday at 7:30 p.m., Amanda on Demanda. She goes through, sings songs on her spinning wheel. You put in the request. You want to put in a request, go to www.vaudacity.online and give her a couple of requests. And she does an amazing job with the show. Monday, we're going to do a number 4 mixtapes of Monday Mixtapes with Dan Franklin. We missed him last week. We're going to do him this week. So that'll be on Monday starting at 7 p.m. Followed by Paul Carganilla and Kevin Gregg on Tuesdays with Your Creative Journey podcast. Very good information. Lots of great things with that podcast. So please join us for that. And once again, wow. What an amazing show today. Sarah, thank you so very much for joining us and being a part of this, the Green Room tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun. I had such a great time. Thanks.
We needed to torture Michael more. I think that was the only thing that was missing was
There was a little acting there.
And you were a little nice to me tonight. I don't know. Next time. You'll get me next time.
All right. So thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, and we will look forward to seeing you next time here on The Green Room.